I think I have the perfect Captain 7 of 9 Star Trek Warp Command. When Star Trek, Picard finally put 7 of 9 in the captain's chair of the USS Stargazer at the end of Season 2. It felt like the culmination of 2 decades of storytelling. Once the Borg's reluctant human reclamation project, 7 had transformed into a resilient Starfleet leader, tempered by years of trauma, friendship, and fighting for causes bigger than herself. By Season 3, the producers went one step further, granting her the USS Enterprise G. Fans cheered because if anyone had earned a place in the captain's seat, it was her. But that raises an important and surprisingly fun question. If Captain 7 of 9 had to issue her version of the classic warp command, what should it be? After all, Star Trek captains are often defined by those 2 or 3 words they utter when they send their ship into the unknown. Picard had the elegant engage. Kirk used the crisp warp speed. Janeway favored the decisive do it. Even Archer settled on punch it. These phrases aren't just commands. They're signatures, little mission statements for how these captains approach the galaxy. 7 deserves her own. Why 7 needs a unique warp command? 7 is not a derivative character. Her journey from Borg drone to Voyager crew member to Fenris Ranger to Starfleet captain is unlike any arc we've seen in the franchise. She has always stood apart, not because she was alien, but because she demanded to carve out her own sense of humanity. When she finally accepted a Starfleet commission, it wasn't an easy inheritance of Janeway's legacy or Picard's blessing, it was a hard-fought evolution. That's why a recycled phrase like engage or make it so won't cut it. 7's warp command should reflect her individuality, her mixture of precision and emotion, and her stubborn refusal to let anyone define her but herself. A captain's warp command as philosophy. Think about it. Each warp phrase is a microcosm of the captain's philosophy. Kirk's warp speed was as impatient as the man himself. He wasn't one for frills, just results. Picard's engage spoke to his leadership style, elegant, formal, deliberate. Janeway's do it had no-nonsense finality. There was never any question she would follow through. And Sisko, while less tied to a single phrase, often favored firm directives that reflected his willingness to adapt and improvise. So what about 7? What words could encapsulate her? She is analytical but passionate, burdened by her Borg past yet fueled by it. She is efficient, commanding, and sharp-tongued, but she also has learned compassion, loyalty, and humor. Her warp command should feel like a natural extension of her personality, logical, direct, and a little bit defiant. My candidate, proceed. Of all the possibilities, I think proceed might be the perfect warp command for Captain 7 of 9. It's simple, precise, elegant in its efficiency. It reflects both her Borg precision and her human decisiveness. Proceed carries layers of meaning. It doesn't just mean go. It suggests moving forward with intent, continuing on a path already chosen. For a character who has struggled with identity, autonomy, and the right to choose her own destiny, proceed becomes deeply symbolic. Every time 7 says it, she's reminding herself and her crew. We've charted this course, and now we move ahead together. It's less theatrical than punch it and more measured than warp speed. But that fits 7's personality perfectly. She doesn't need flash. She needs precision. And let's be honest, Jeri Ryan's delivery of that single word, clipped yet commanding, would give it an edge that makes it unforgettable. Other contenders that almost fit. I toyed with a few alternatives. Initiate felt appropriate given 7's Borg-like cadence, but it's a little too clinical. Onward has an adventurous tone but risks sounding too whimsical for her. Execute matches her no-nonsense style but is maybe too harsh, more suited to Section 31 than a Starfleet flagship. Another intriguing choice might have been assimilate, not in the Borg sense, but as a reclamation of the word, a defiant gesture of turning a nightmare legacy into a Starfleet mission statement. Yet it would always carry too much baggage, and 7 is not about glorifying her trauma. She is about transcending it, which is why proceed rises above. It has that quiet confidence that feels like a natural outgrowth of 7's evolution from exile to captain. The power of hearing it for the first time. Imagine the scene. The Enterprise G's bridge crew, still adjusting to their new captain, looks to Seven for direction. There's a pause, the weight of Starfleet's greatest legacy hanging in the air. Seven stands, cool and commanding, with that unmistakable mix of Borg sharpness and human warmth. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't mimic anyone else. She simply gives the order. Helm. Proceed.